So Sharp Objects season premiere sets the scene in the town of Wind Gap, Missouri, and it opens with a flashback that takes place in the early 90s, and then we see Beverly Marsh from It, aka Sophia Lillis, rollerblading, and she's the perfect person to play a young Amy Adams here. It makes me wish that It too would have casted Amy Adams to be the adult version of Beverly Marsh, because they look so similar. It is a perfect casting choice here in this show. So Camille, the main character, is rollerblading with her little sister, and then it cuts beautifully the episode title, Vanish. And the little sister's like, sure, Mama's not gonna catch that we're gone. And Camille's like, better hope not. So they have to actually sneak back into their own house, which is this beautiful mansion, and it's a sign, obviously, the mother is insane. But then it cuts in such a cool way to present day Camille in her bed, thinking about this time as a kid. And with that cut, it shows her younger self about to stab herself with a sharp object, hence the title of the show. So that also clues into the big reveal at the end of the episode, which we'll get to. So what's really interesting is they showed an opening shot before even the flashback where it's a fan blowing and a girl's hair in it. And then in present day Camille, we see that again, she's thinking about that. So any theories on what that might be, please let me know. They throw a lot of little flashes in here coming from Camille's mind, so it's really cool how they do this, and you really have to pay attention. It's just the little things. Camille in present day just steps on a candy wrapper that literally matches the candy wrapper her little sister had in the flashback. So obviously she is still thinking about her constantly. So we cut to her job at the St. Louis Chronicle as a reporter, and she's talking to her boss, who's the editor, Frank Curry. And he asks her, what is Wind Gap like? And she's like, it's a small town of old money and trash. How many of us can relate to towns like this? I know I can. And Frank's like, which one are you? And she's like, I'm trash from old money. So they're throwing a lot at us right away, and we're really learning a lot of character depth about our main character, Camille. So she said her mom is still alive, living with her stepdad, and they have a daughter that she really doesn't know, and she really doesn't like to talk to them. So Frank informs her there was a murder in Wind Gap in late August of a girl, and now there's a girl missing, and it might be a serial case. And he wants her to go get a story out of it. And she's like, why do I have to go to Wind Gap to get a murder story? We have murders in St. Louis. But he's like, people love a hometown story. You're from that town. People like it being more personal. You're the perfect person to cover this. And then he's like, you don't have to do this, but you might need this. And she's like, no pressure? And he's like, life is pressure, grow up. So they have an interesting dynamic, the two of them. And you can obviously tell there's old wounds in that town for Camille, so this is going to be an interesting case that she's attached to. Some interesting stuff you see in her home office is there's a poster above her desk that has the famous quote, we are the woman our parents warned us against, and we're proud. So right there, that's just giving you a big hint to her relationship with her parents and what she sees herself as. Now we learn she's taking shots in the middle of the day, so she's clearly an alcoholic. Then she looks at a broken glass on her phone and has a flash of her sister on her bed. So these thoughts constantly bother her about her past, relating to her younger sister. So we see her driving in her car to Wind Gap. She's cruising to Led Zeppelin, smoking cigs, and then it cuts to night, and there's a bunch of cigarettes, so she's a chain smoker as well. And then you see the sign that says, last exit to change your mind. It's a great touch there. Obviously another warning about her going back to Wind Gap. And she gets more flashes of her childhood, so she's got some clear PTSD going on here. So she gets to Wind Gap, pulls into the Holiday Motel. She throws booze, cigs, candy, and Listerine on her bed. Yikes. She's clearly got every bad habit in the book. And then she goes in the bathroom, and we get some crazy flashes of her thinking of a janitor, flash of blood, and then she looks at herself in the mirror and sees, I'm assuming, her sister's face in the mirror, which was such a creepy, effective, awesome shot. And it already has that vibe, which I love, that psycho thriller in the mind of somebody, and it's dark, it's crazy, it's keeping you on the edge of your seat. So far, so good. And then she's just drinking in the bathtub, and it cuts so awesome to a flashback of her head also in water, but now in a pond as a kid. And there's these troublemaker kids running around with guns, and then her younger self finds a cabin in the woods, and there's these S&M photos all over. So you're like, what the hell is going on here? This is creepy as hell. Whose cabin is this? Is this some kind of demented sex shack? I love the buzzing sound they have playing, cutting back and forth between her as a child and her in the tub. It's some insane editing, so props to the editor here. And it's interesting how to interpret this part, because it cuts now to her in her bed, and she's getting off. Is she getting off on S&M stuff? Is that stuff that she's thinking of that she saw as a kid clicking? Really interesting stuff there. Just adding so much depth to this character really quickly, which is always effective. So she's in Wind Gap, present day, sees a memorial of the murdered girl, and she finds an important sign that says missing Natalie Keene. And it says she's been missing since June 2016. I love the shot. Deep down the alley, you see two girls rollerblading, alluding to her when she was a kid rollerblading in this town. Really nice touch there. So she ends up at the police station. The woman working there tells her that no one wants their kids out and that the chief Vickery is running a search party for the missing girl. Now, her being a reporter, she wants to sit down with Chief Vickery. They're in his office, and he's like, I have no intention of this story getting out. And she's trying to convince him, like, look, this is more of a think piece. I'm from here. So this isn't just to make the town look bad. This is actually going to be something that's just trying to figure out why this stuff occurs here. So Camille calls her editor and tells her that she learned that Ann Nash's body was found by hunters in a creek last August, and that she was strangled with a clothesline. And the editor's like, there's no leads, and she's like, there's no leads. And he's like, you gotta paint me some kind of picture here. Talk to locals. You can't just talk to the chief police. Find me a story. So she's got that pressure reaffirmed on her. So Camille runs into these rollerblading girls, and they notice her. And Camille's like, you guys gossip a lot. And they're like, yeah, because this town is totally dead. There's nothing to do. This show's really effectively hitting on a dead small town like this perfectly, because this is how kids act like in those towns. It shows the bleakness of this town so well. So they point her to the search party is in the direction of the woods, and we get a quick flashback. Camille's thinking of her running in the woods, those same woods, as a cheerleader away from the boys. What could that mean? These are all little pieces you gotta just pay attention to building this backstory. So we meet Detective Willis in the woods, and we learn he's not from here, and Camille makes a jab about that. And then he's like a reporter. Great. So there's always that tension there between detective and reporter. And then we hear Jackie O'Neill, an old family friend, call her, who's the great Elizabeth Perkins. And she's got that funny hippie vibe to her. She's clearly drunk, drinking sweet tea that's got a kick to it, offers it to Camille. And it's so funny. She's like, I don't drink on the job, which she clearly does. And Jackie mentions her mom's not talking to her anymore. And she's like, you know how that is. So again, leading to how crazy this mom must be that we're about to meet. And Jackie's like, I'm glad you're home. And Camille's like, we'll see. So interesting tease there about how chaotic this relationship of Camille and the town is. They really depict her loneliness so well in this show too already. Like, you could just see her driving, drinking. It's very sad. So she pulls up to her old house, puts lipstick on, and once she's doing that, flashes to her seeing dirty written on her car. Maybe that's hinting at some self-image issues she might have. Even though she's such this pretty girl, she might not think that. Then she stands on her home porch, and it flashes to her on the porch back in the day with her sister, and they're talking about ghosts and death. And Camille's like, are you a quitter? And her sister's like, no, and runs away. You're almost getting vibes now. Is the sister sick? What's her deal? Would she be quitting? And Camille runs after her, and it's such an awesome cut to then present day with the mom appearing. So we meet this Adoro lady, and she's already very off. Then we meet the stepdad, Alan. He's kind of a weird dude, and she doesn't understand why her daughter wants to write this story. She's like, I knew those children. I'm already having a tough time with it as it is. And she's like, don't tell me what you're doing. I don't want to know. Psycho. And she's like, I'll pretend you're on summer break while you're here. That is so brutal for a mother to say of your daughter's work. Then Camille's like, how's Amma? And she's like, she's managing. So they're already very shady, especially how they possibly treat this half-sister. I love the little light piano playing in the background as well. Just as that classic, very wealthy house with some obviously skeletons in it. The vibe is set perfectly. So immediately the mom basically walks her up to her bedroom and just says goodnight. And you get these creepy little touches here where then the little sister appears on the bench in the hallway. I don't know if anyone caught that. For like a second. Wagging her feet. Kind of crazy. And also kind of scary. Visually already, this show you cannot look away from. They're throwing so much at you. They're painting a very detailed picture. So you can't be doing chores watching a show. You can't be texting. You might have to watch twice. So then she lays in her bed. Immediately the old wounds are really kicking in now. So we get a flash, and it's a flashback of her sister. She's dripping sweat, clearly sick in some way, and then she has some sort of seizure. And the flash was so cool because it turns her running to her mom, and then it cuts to present time. So you clearly see it's a bad idea for her to stay here. It's setting off her PTSD extremely. I think we can all experience that if you ever go home. You had a bad experience at home. You don't want to be there too long. This happens to people. It's normal. So she sneaks out like the old days. Is out of there. And it's kind of a funny shot of the mom just dancing to this loud music the stepdad's playing. So she goes to the local bar, and she sees the missing girl's brother there. Clearly super depressed. And then the detective shows up, and he reveals he's from Kansas City. And he basically is dissing Chief of Police, Chief Vickery, and saying he doesn't like my style, but at least I'm trying to investigate. So clearly we're getting some idea into Vickery that he doesn't really want any part of this. And the detective tells her, like, hey, I know you're eyeing that kid over there, but reporters aren't allowed to talk to minors without the parents' permission. So he's blocking her from doing her thing at the moment. And she goes, is he a suspect? And he's like, everybody's a suspect. And she kind of hints, like, that means you don't have any leads. And then the detective's like, can we just talk? Like, I need to talk to some city folk. And she's like, yeah, I don't do that. I'm not about the chatting thing. so mourned her character. And during all this distraction by the detective, she lost the kid. Kid's gone. So there goes her interview there. So she goes hammered into her car, blasting Led Zeppelin. The headbanging was hysterical. And then boom, cuts to present day. She slept overnight at the bar, dead battery, gets it fixed by some neighbor, and she goes back home. She goes into her kitchen, her mom's there. She's like, Camille, I'm glad you're home, but please don't embarrass me. Not again. She's like, when you're here, everything you do comes back to me. So imagine being her shoes right now. Like, your mom's just saying this to you, that you're basically an embarrassment, and she's worried that you're going to ruin any sort of normalcy for her. And then the mom's like, I haven't heard from you for months. You just stir everything up, and she's clearly freaking out. So she's got some serious mental issues. And you see that Camille just apologizes to calm her down and knows it's a better choice than fight. And then she tries to bring up the story, and the mom immediately shuts it down. Wants none of it. And then we cut to Camille looking in the mirror, and she has a quick flash of her mom at the funeral of her sister. So again, just throwing these quick little scenes at you that you have to catch, which I love because it effectively keeps you paying attention, keeps you interested, and keeps you on edge. Then it goes to her at the gas station at 9 in the morning getting booze. And even the gas station attendant is concerned. And she goes to Ann Nash, the daughter who was killed's father, Bob Nash. Bob explains that Ann was going to a friend's house in the morning. The mom approved of it. She was begging that she could go by herself, and she never came back. And he says the wife never forgave herself. The other daughter then comes in the room, and the dad's a huge jerk to her. And we learn he has a chart for the kid's behavior. It's just so extreme and wrong. So learn how bad he is to the kids. And then he gets real suspiciously defensive when she writes down when he's saying he wasn't there at the house when the girl went missing, which is huge because that takes away a safe alibi. And he thinks a gay man did this crime because she wasn't raped. And he says it in a very anti-gay way. And he's like, I know my daughter Ann gave that guy hell. So this guy, they're setting up as a suspect right away. He could be saying these things about the wife, but it could be him feeling that way, that he can't forgive himself and that he's up to something. So she's a good reporter. She's catching on to this. She calls her editor. He's like, you think he's a suspect? Let's follow it up. So she's getting a story already brewing. And then you see she's in the town and the kids are playing with the memorial stuff of the girl who died. And she's like, you guys can't be doing that. But then we see the brother of the girl is there. He's fine with it. And the rollerblading girl's like, it's not just the families. We're all sad. Again, hitting on that small town stuff. When there's a death in a small town, it affects everybody. So again, really good writing here. And then boom, just like that, the show's moving so much at an incredible pace, shot-wise, that she turns her head, she sees in the alleyway the missing girl, Natalie. And she's dead just sitting in the windowsill. Phenomenal acting on Amy Adams in this part, finding the girl, and then looking up and seeing the birds flying, maybe symbolizing the girl being free in her death from this hard town. And then we got to the detective bringing a bottle of booze for her and Camille in a room. She's like, looks like you got your cereal, detective. And she asks if the fathers are suspects. And she's like, I'll show you what I got if you show me yours, because he did show curiosity. Like, wait, are they? Did you get something? And then he almost breaks but doesn't. And he's like, let's just wait till this girl's in the morgue before we proceed with this. So she's ready to pounce and jump, and he's doing the slow game here, which we know in shows kind of is the wrong way to go about stuff like this. Even though it's a tragedy, you want to get everything while it's hot. So again, showing how good her reporting skills are. So Camille is very talented. So she goes back home. We get a big reveal that Amma is the girl who was the rollerblader. And she didn't reveal herself to Camille. She didn't recognize her, which makes sense because she says the line, the mom stopped sending her Christmas cards. And you see how overbearing the mom is. She tells Amma, I need to know now where you are at all times. So Amma walks Camille up to her younger sister's old room, and we learn her name's Marion. And she's like, the mom keeps a room like a museum. And she's like, I miss her sometimes, even though I didn't know her. And she asked Camille, was she perfect? And Camille's like, no, but she was close. And then interesting, Amma hugs her and is like, now we can be sisters. And what's so interesting about this character dynamic is Amma basically, we know is a rebel. We see her rollerblading, acting to her mother just like Camille did, but the difference is, and Amma almost boasts about it, she knows how to hide it and not show it to her mom. She plays house there. She has a dollhouse. She says she literally dresses her like a doll, but she goes along with it. She puts on an act, which is smarter than the way Camille did as a kid. So almost Camille's kind of like, oh man, I should have thought of that and not just played my hand out so open. So we see their relationship's almost a reflection of each other, and they like each other. So that was really good setup as well. So we get a flash of her sister, and then a flash of Natalie, who just died. So obviously that's connecting in Camille's brain to that post-trauma. Again, showing how effective this storytelling of the show is and how smooth this editing is. And then she opens the bedroom door, and that triggers her thinking of the funeral and how she freaked out at the funeral. I was taken away from it that she was trying to take the makeup off of her sister in that casket because she knows that wasn't how she really was. That's how the mom wanted her to be. And then we cut to present time. She goes in the bath, get the big reveal, hence the title of the show, Sharp Objects, where she's got cuts all over her body, not just her back and her arms, her legs too. Puts her headphones on, super sad, but what an ending to a premiere, to an awesome premiere, and awesome credit music as well. If anyone knows the name of that song, please put it down below. I definitely want to download it. Acting was outstanding in this premiere. The writing was outstanding. The camera work, the music, the undertone to it, the feel to it, the accuracy to it. It was so focused storytelling. Every little thing counted. No filler. And which makes me excited is this only 7-episode miniseries, so you know they're not going to drag things out. I love Gone Girl. It's the same writer of that book, so I'm pumped. I haven't read this book. So everyone, in your comments, no spoilers from the book. That's not for here. Save that somewhere else. So any theories you have, let's just do it for the show. I'm excited for this show. It's a mystery. It's a thriller. It's like so psychological. Great character depth already, character building, and top-notch writing. I'm giving this premiere a 9.6. It was awesome, and I can't wait for the next episode. Please let me know what you thought down below of it. I love to read all the comments. Respond to as many as I can. Let's get the discussion going on this show. Please subscribe. I'll be reviewing each episode of Sharp Objects. My review will be posted right as each episode airs, so you don't want to miss one. So keep coming back, and I'll see you next time.